Welcome to the ATP Project. You're with your hosts Steve and Nicole, and today, guess what we're talking about?
All about poo.
Like I was going to say the S word, and I thought, no, I can't say that.
No, you can't say that.
I can't say that. But we are going to talk about bowels, and we're going to talk about all things bowels, but related to athletes.
Yes. Yeah.
I mean, what's the difference between an athlete's bowel and ours?
There's a few differences.
There's a few. We're
going to find out.
We're going to find out.
Yeah.
We'll get a bit of a heads up. The microbiome is so important that Nic and it's on top of my mind at the moment, talked about a study, and we'll get into it later, but how you can transplant microbiome to another thing, and that thing will perform better if it's from an athlete's bowel.
That's right.
Isn't that amazing?
It is amazing.
So, I mean, we talk about drugs and sport and enhance this, caffeine, that, alpha GPC, that. It's all good, but no one's ever thought about giving someone bacteria.
No, I mean, could probiotic treatment or probiotic supplementation be the future of performance for athletes? We don't know.
It's exciting.
Possibilities.
I've got a plethora of papers here. We're going to talk about bowels, so I can't wait to get into them. But we better talk about what we're talking about. We're going to be talking about the microbiome. What's a microbiome?
So a microbiome, I'm sure some people might know what a microbiome is, but we have different microbiomes. We have the oral microbiome, we have the gut microbiome, which is what we're talking about today.
And the other downstairs
microbiome, skin microbiome. So we have a lot. So we're talking specifically about the gut microbiome today, which, we've covered a lot in previous podcasts and things. We talk a lot about gut here at ATP. We love the gut. But basically the microbiome is your gut bacteria. So it's all the different gut bacterias and the families and the phylas and all that sort of thing, the virus, the fungi that make up our entire microbiome. So, and we're going to talk about what can go wrong with athletes' microbiome, what is good about the athletic microbiome compared to more sedentary people. So, it should be interesting.
What I love about the microbiome is the facts about it. I love all the facts. There's 10 times more bugs in your gut than there are cells in your body.
That's right, yeah. And the old who's actually controlling who? Are we controlling the bugs in our gut, or are the bugs controlling us to a certain degree? How we eat, what we crave, our energy, production, and how we feel, our neurotransmitter production, whether we feel down or not. Could that be our bugs actually dictating that?
You mentioned how we feel. I mean, serotonin, everyone thinks is a brain chemical, but 90% of it's made in your gut.
Yeah, it is.
I mean, that's huge.
Yeah.
Let's give a hypothetical. Let's say you went to a psychiatrist and you had low serotonin, if you're depressed or whatever the case may be. Psychiatrist wouldn't even give a rat's about your bowel.
No.
You had 90% of the serotonin, and he or she may prescribe what we call an SSRI, which is selective serotonin reuptake inhibitor, to boost serotonin in the brain. Yet the microbiome that makes 90% of it is ignored.
That's right.
I mean, how nuts is that?
That's crazy. Yeah, well, we're all starting to learn about. We've known about it for a while, but it's becoming more mainstream about the gut brain axis. So there's a very strong connection between the two. What's happening in the gut definitely affects our brain. So
can I give you some more weird stats?
Please.
All right. About 97% of your genetic material is in your bowel.
Wow. So
you know how people say, "Oh, you can't change your genes." So yes, you can. Take some heaps of polyphenols and you'll change your genes.
Yeah.
The genes that make up your cells, because most of the genes are in your gut. It's amazing, isn't it?
It is amazing. Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
I mean, how many bugs are there? There's about 10 trillion or something.
Yeah.
It's like an astronomical amount.
Yeah.
Now, 10 trillion, to give you a bit of, because sorry to pull the science card on people here, but have you ever looked up in the night sky?
I
seen
have.
the Milky Way?
I have, yes.
Yeah? Starry night. There's about 10 billion stars in our Milky Way galaxy, which is all the stars you can see up there.
Yeah.
Everything you can see up there, unless you're in the Northern Hemisphere, there's one exception, is all from our galaxy, which is our Milky Way. If you're in the Northern Hemisphere, you can see Andromeda M31, which is a galaxy that's got another 10 billion stars. By the way, that galaxy, that one with the other 10 billion stars, is heading straight for the Milky Way, and it's going to collide in about 3 billion years.
Is it?
Yep.
Oh, no. Well, lucky we won't be around.
Yeah, well, we won't be. No, because we're going to get swallowed by the sun in about 4 billion years.
Oh, wow. Gee, full of good news, aren't you, Steve?
Well, it's not tomorrow.
No.
But our sun is going to, engulf the Earth, of course.
Wow.
But think about all the stars you can see. And even with the most powerful telescope, all the stars in our galaxy, our microbiome dwarfs that by a factor of 1,000.
It's crazy, mind-boggling stuff, isn't it?
Numbers, yeah. And you know, it's like, that's just a freaky number, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's almost like that number that you can't sort of fathom is the amount of bugs in your gut. And, you know, it's ridiculous to say that they have no effect on human health.
That's right.
It's funny, I asked my father-in-law, Dr. Doug, when he was a GP and he was practicing, and I said, well, did you ever consider that in practice? He goes, no, we just knew that antibiotics upset it, and that was about it.
That was as far as it went.
But, yeah, there was no thought about it. When you're in medical school, it's like you got these bugs there, and what do? It's just there. Maybe help with digestion if you're lucky. Yeah. But they do so much more.
Oh, and look, there's so much. The testing technologies come such a long way now that we can look at the gut on a much broader scale, or much more, zoom in more. But, we really still don't know pretty much most of what goes on in the gut as far as the gut bugs that are there. We have probiotics, but we might hit 0.1% of the bugs that we're trying to get to. So there's a lot to learn. We learnt a lot, and there's a lot of really great research coming out, and a lot of, like I said, metagenomic testing and things like that are showing us a lot more of the bacteria that are in our gut. But there's still a lot we don't know. But there's a lot that we can do for the gut, and particularly, as talking about athletes today, what we can do to help the guts of athletes so they can perform a bit better. Yeah, and that's what it's all about today. It's about performance and athletes in the gut microbiome. And the interesting thing about today is that we're going to be talking about what the gut microbiome does for athletes and that, but also I've got some graphs in here showing the effects of exercise, how it improves the gut microbiome. Yes. Now, like people think, how do I improve my gut bugs? Oh, I'll take a probiotic, which is usually 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 species of bugs, and you got about 2,000 in your gut. Yeah. So, it's a bit weird that you take 1 or 2 or 3 of them. Right. But anyway, let's say you do that, changes things a little bit. But the fact of the matter is exercise is extremely beneficial for the gut. Yeah, it's great for your heart and brain, and who cares about that? It's about your gut microbiome today. That's right. Amazing, isn't it? It is amazing. And they've shown it that the microbiome of athletes has a lot more diversity in it than somebody who maybe isn't quite as active or is quite sedentary, meaning that there's a lot more of those beneficial bacteria in their guts than there is in more sedentary people. And diversity is a good thing when it comes to the microbiome. We call it the Shannon Index, which is how diverse something is, but we won't worry about the boring technical things. What I want to talk about is some terms that we're going to become familiar with, and the first one here is dysbiosis. We're going to talk about what the hell's that? Dysbiosis. So dysbiosis basically just means an imbalance within your microbiome, a particular bacteria. So there's a few different types of dysbiosis. There's one called inflammatory dysbiosis, which is more an overgrowth of more those opportunistic and pathogenic bacteria or pathogens in general that can skew the balance between your healthy bacteria. The more of those there are, the more inflammation. They produce more things like lipopolysaccharides, which is an inflammatory compound, and you have a lot more inflammation within the gut. So there's that type. There's also deficiency dysbiosis. Oh, what's that? So that one is when you have low amounts of your beneficial bacteria, basically. So when we're looking at the gut, we want to have good amounts of, your particularly your Bacteroides and your Firmicutes. They're the two main phyla in the gut. We have low levels that can indicate that maybe there's some dietary insufficiencies going on there, possibly some digestive issues going on, but we don't want to have low levels of bacteria because, as we were saying, they do so many good things for our health overall. If we're lacking in those, we can have some problems. And then there's digestive dysbiosis as well. So that is when our digestive organs, so our pancreatic function, gallbladder function, our secretory IgA levels, our stomach acid production are all quite low or can be a little bit imbalanced, and that can cause some issues as well. So let's look at the modern person today. Let's take a teenage girl. Okay, let's say she's got acne, which most teenagers, boys and girls have, and they're often prescribed a few months' worth of tetracycline or an antibiotic for months. Now, teenagers don't eat super good. No.
They eat quite crap, let's be honest.
Yeah. Some eat great.
Yeah,
a lot don't.
very rare. So what's going to happen to the gut microbiome if you have a poor diet and you're on a long-term, say, antibiotic, just for example?
Yeah.
What's going to happen?
Well, for one, the poor diet is going to cause a lot of imbalances, as we said, more of that inflammatory dysbiosis. It's going to be feeding more of those pathogenic bacteria. And then you throw in antibiotics and then you're going to wipe out all the good guys. We're going to wipe out everything. And then what comes back out of that is more the bad guys.
That's nuts,
and then that sort of continues that cycle. So the more bad guys, the more inflammation, the more issues with your skin continues on.
Yeah, you get more of the bacteria called Propionibacterium acne, which is actually resistant to a lot of the antibiotics these days. Now, the reason why I'm asking that is because this is something you're likely to find in your clinic, because you run a clinic, don't you?
I do run a clinic, yes.
I do?
Oh. I do. See a lot of clients with gut issues.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes, very prevalent.
It's incredible because, like I see you as a big brain, obviously, and what naturopaths today have to tackle is phenomenal. Now, compare it to when I was in practice in the 90s, it was like, we'll give you a good diet and maybe a probiotic and a weed seed feed thing. But you do testing, you do all sorts of things. You do organic acid testing and Dutch testing and all this sort of stuff that wasn't around when I was practicing. We did iridology.
Yes, well, I don't do iridology now because I do online consultations, but even
so you do online. So anyone can come and see you.
Yeah, anyone all around the world.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
Well, you run a very busy practice. We know that.
I do.
You're pretty well booked out. But if they get on your website, which how do they look you up?
Well, they can look me up in Nicole Brown Naturopathy.
Okay.
They can book online.
That's it.
Yeah.
It's easy.
Yeah.
Because you understand the gut microbiome, and the reason why we're focusing on this today is because the gut is the seat of all disease. It really is. Now, we go back to the Hahnemann, principles. It's the gut. We go back before that to Hippocrates, where he was all about the gut. And even we go forward to 1980 of Bernard Jensen, who was a famous naturopath, did iridology a lot. He saw that if you look at iridology, that everything comes out of the gut.
Yeah.
The first two zones of the gut.
That's right.
In the eye. I mean, it's all about the bowels. And so that's why we're obsessed with bowels and, that's treated. And I think it's extraordinarily underappreciated.
Yeah.
Because the gut microbiome can have loads of things. And my story, I won't say to you, I've said it before on the podcast, but I had an infection called Klebsiella in my gut. And I developed a terrible arthritis about it. Now, I didn't know about the Klebsiella business. I treated my arthritis like a joint disease. Yeah. Which it's not. It was a gut disease.
That's right.
So how do you know you're sitting out there and you're listening, you've got this weird disease, don't know what's causing it, or the term is idiopathic.
That's right.
Which is a terrible term.
Basically, meaning they don't know.
They don't know.
That's what that
exactly.
means.
That's exactly what it means. So, you get an idiopathic disease. So it could be something from the gut microbiome.
Yeah, and a lot of times it is. As you said, gut imbalances drive so many conditions, health conditions. So, and as you said, we have a lot more testing available to us now as naturopaths than we did even, 5-6 years ago. So it definitely helps us have a look at what's going on in the microbiome. So
amazing. Like I was drinking a drink with choline in it. I won't mention any brand names or anything. But choline is great for you, but if you've got a bad gut, it turns the choline into TMAO, which is toxic.
Yeah, that's right.
So, you could be having something good and it's turning into something bad because you've got something bad in your gut.
That's right.
Because it's the first to see the food.
Yeah. Exactly.
It's not like, the old days of, another thing we used to talk a lot about in the podcast of us was calories in, calories out. It doesn't mean if it passes, it goes into your stomach, it doesn't mean it's all going to get absorbed. You talked about the dysbiosis before. So this is a huge area, and yes, for athletes as well. But let's say you've got one of the dysbiosis where you're not absorbing your nutrients and you're shutting down protein powders.
Yeah, what's going to happen?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's going to sit in there.
It's going to sit in there and putrefy.
And create overgrowths.
Yeah.
One, you're not going to absorb the protein and get the amino acids that you need for the performance, and two, you're going to end up with some dysbiosis because you're not digesting that protein very well.
I know, and people don't consider that.
No.
That is, and unfortunately, a lot of protein powders contain sucralose, which destroys the gut as well.
Yeah.
We've done that on previous podcasts where it causes dysbiosis. So most protein powders, ours don't. We don't have any artificial sweeteners in anything.
No.
But other protein powders, say an athlete is having a whey protein. Look at the label.
Yes.
Look for 955. Look for sucralose. Look for any artificial sweetener. It does destroy the gut.
Yeah.
Weirdly, stevia is actually good for the gut.
It is, yes.
It's a natural sweetness.
One of the few sweetness, yeah.
So it's a good one. But no, as I said, all hats off to you because you've got to manage this with patience, and that's incredible. But let's get into the athletic side of things. Now, you were an athlete.
I was an athlete for a long time, yes.
You're a body sculptor?
I was a body sculptor.
You still a bit of weight.
I still train every day, yeah. I don't do the crazy, dieting anymore.
But see, the crazy dieting changes your gut microbiome as well as an athlete.
Yeah. And that can have implications with gut health as well for a lot of athletes.
Well, and you've told your story before, so I'm not speaking out of school, that you dropped to 42 kilograms, which is extraordinarily light. Now, to put in context, 42 kilos would be under your BMI, that healthy BMI, well under. Yeah. It'd be like 16.
Yeah.
So incredibly light. Now, what happens is that a lot of people who diet and starve themselves for a competition, like you were, starving yourself, but you were...
Yeah, I was eating a lot, but I wasn't, well, as it turns out, I wasn't absorbing what I was eating towards the end of my competitive career because I had too many, I had too many gut issues and things like that, just the stress and the long-term dieting, competing. But yes, I wasn't absorbing a lot. I was eating a lot of calories, but, I guess comparatively to what I am now, I mean, I'm 20 kilos heavier than I was then, and I'm lean now. So, really? But yes, I wasn't absorbing calories for one, and I was probably under eating carbs. I mean, I competed, I'm not going to tell you how many years ago, but things have definitely changed in the industry as far as nutrition and that type of thing. It's come a long way, compared to what it was when I was competing. So that's a really positive move, positive sort of step forward with the industry. It's a lot healthier than it used to be. But yes, my microbiome wasn't happy towards the end of my career.
I can only imagine. But let's say that you're dieting for a competition. You did, but let's say you're the average athlete out there. You're dieting for a competition. Your microbiome changes and adapts because in the wild, when we were hunting and gathering, and if we weren't coming across enough food, our bodies grew more bacteria to absorb more calories out of the food that we were getting.
That's right.
And Methanobrevibacter is the famous one that grows to draw more calories out of the food. So that puts a whole thing in food out, sort of calories in, calories out, because you can't measure it if you don't eat your microbiome.
Yeah.
But Methanobrevibacter increases when you're starving, so as you can draw more calories. Now, let's say you were purposely starving to diet for a competition. You finish the competition, you got loads of these calorie-absorbing microbiome. Guess what's going to happen to you?
Yeah. You're going to eat.
Stack weight
That's
on.
right. Yeah. And what happens when people finish competing? A lot. They will put on a lot of weight. They go back to their regular diet, and suddenly they're putting on a lot of weight. Yeah.
And they find it harder to diet because they've got these microbiomes because the microbiome doesn't know you're going into a sculpting competition.
That's right.
They're going, this person is starving. Let's help them out by getting more of these bacteria to draw more calories out of the food. It doesn't know. No, it doesn't. So, and that leads us on to there is a condition called intestinal methanogen overgrowth. Yeah, let's talk about that. So it used to be called, it was all bunched into one term, which was SIBO, which is small intestinal bacterial overgrowth, which is not an uncommon thing to see in athletes, particularly female athletes that have to diet hard for their sport. So that's basically when there's a translocation of the bacteria that should be more of those in the large intestine have translocated to the small intestine, and they're causing issues there. But then the methanogen overgrowth comes into that too. So IMO used to be all SIBO, now it's IMO as well. So what's IMO stand for? Intestinal methanogen overgrowth. Oh, I love it. Yeah, right. I love all these acronyms. Yeah. So these particularly women, as I said, they can end up with constipation and bloating and gas and all those types of things because of this shift in their microbiome due to under-eating and then developing more of the methanobacteria. Yeah, because people mightn't know this, but most of the food we eat is absorbed in the small intestine, pretty much all of it. So the large intestine forms the stool, gets some water out, a bit of B12, but really it's all happens in the small intestine. So when you're starving or dieting, it doesn't matter, same thing, the bacteria go up there and say, hey, I need more calories. Yeah. And so it looks for some to grab to absorb in the small intestine and enjoy then. Yeah. So you get this overgrowth of bacteria in there. And it's so common. Very common. It really is common. Now in clinic, you would have seen the odd SIBO case. I call it SIBO. Many SIBO. Tomato. Poida. We were talking about that off camera. Sorry, an old comedy show because I'm old, you're young.
Old people in Australia might remember Poiter.
Yeah, Poiter. It's pronounced Poiter.
Poiter, not Peter.
No, Poiter.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. I loved all that.
Yeah.
So it's an incredibly common disorder. And you must see some in clinic, of course, do you?
I see a lot of SIBO. Yeah, a lot of it, yeah.
What other athlete problems do you see?
Well, we can see, as we said, general dysbiosis is one of them, as we said. Mucosal inflammation is a big one.
Yeah.
So, and that can come about due to NSAID overuse, so non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs. So a lot of athletes have pains and things like that. So they might be on the paracetamol or the Nurofen, things like that.
Yeah. And also things like Celebrex, very commonly on.
Yeah.
Meloxicam, any of those other potent anti-inflammatories, naproxen, Voltarens, any of these, because you do get aches and pains.
Yeah.
When you're an athlete,
you do. Yeah.
You get aches and pains. You get old, like me too.
Well, and me,
you wouldn't know that.
No, I wouldn't know that.
But these are really common aspirin-based drugs.
Yeah, and they're widely used amongst athletes for that reason, because they get aches, they get strains, they get all sorts of things. It causes a lot of inflammation, and it start to degrade that mucus lining of the gut, can cause ulceration, that type of thing, and then then that moves on to a whole lot of other problems from there. So if we're degrading things like secretory IgA, which we can talk about, that's going to cause problems with immunity, and so it sort of basically opens up a whole can of worms. So that's another one that's pretty often.
is one of the antibodies that's beneficial for the gut.
Yeah.
And it's secreted from plasma cells or B cells.
Yep.
So it's an important immune, especially in the gut.
First line of immune defence within the gut, secretory IgA. So if we've got low levels of that due to some degradation of that mucin layer, because it lives in the mucin layer, then there's problems with that. Aside from the inflammation and all the issues that can come from that. So that's another relatively common one for athletes.
Jeez.
Yeah.
It's like you wouldn't want to be an athlete, but if you do it right, there's ways we can help the athletes, can't
Definitely.
we? And help their performance.
Yes.
Now,
definitely.
I want to talk about the performance one I alluded to earlier.
Yes.
Really cool study, isn't it? What did they do in this study?
Well, this one I love this study. I've got to put my glasses on for this one. So this one they wanted to have a look at the microbiome of some endurance athletes, so marathon runners specifically in this instance, and they were producing a bacteria in their gut called Veillonella, was quite abundant in marathon runners. So, and interestingly, post-marathon, it was a lot higher. So what this bug does is it's a lactate. It feeds on lactate.
Feeds on lactic acid.
Yeah, lactic acid.
Lactates. Yeah. So can you see why that would be beneficial?
Yeah. So the body, that's the intelligence of the microbiome, how it will adjust for its external environment. So if you're creating more lactic acid, that's going to increase this bacteria to help break that down. So, but what they did is they took stool samples. They took this bacteria and they actually put it into mice, and the mice were put on a treadmill. So they had little baby treadmills, little miniature treadmills, and then they measured their run time, that sort of thing. And the mice that actually had the bacteria put in their microbiome actually lasted. They had a lot longer endurance than the mice that didn't.
I love that.
And that's not a mice that was a marathon running mice.
No.
They had to run a marathon. They became a marathon run. Well, their microbiome became similar to that of a marathon runner, and they had a lot more endurance. So how interesting is that?
I love that.
These bacteria can have that profound effect.
And they put it in mice so as you could control for variables?
Yes.
Because in humans you've got too many variables.
That's right.
In rats you can tell them exactly 100% what they're going to eat and what speed you're going to run them.
Yeah.
And they can run them to exhaustion.
Yeah.
Because that's what they do.
Yeah.
We love the rat study.
I know.
But this is a good one. This is a really interesting one because the rat, didn't know it was getting the microbiome. It didn't say, oh, you've got the good bugs, mate. They don't understand that.
No.
So that's absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah. Crazy, isn't it?
Now, there's one other thing that when you eat, you produce short-chain fatty acids. Now, there's three of them: butyric acid, propanoic acid, and valerianic acid. And there's another one, isopropanoic acid, something. So these short-chain fatty acids. Now, the thing about acid is that athletes hate acid. They shouldn't hate these acids.
No, they shouldn't hate these. These are very important acids to have.
Well, why are they important?
Well, they've actually shown, first of all, that in the athletic microbiome that there are much higher levels of short-chain fatty acids, particularly butyrate. which is one of the highest.
That's the good one.
That's the good one. So, but these short-chain fatty acids are so important for so many different things. They're anti-inflammatory. They work on immune modulation, fat and glucose metabolism as well. Even some of them produce neurotransmitters.
Wow.
Yeah, protect the colonocytes as well.
Cells in the colon.
Yeah, so they're really important little fellas to have. Yeah. So, and how do we get more short-chain fatty acids, Steve?
Well, we eat nice soluble fibre.
That's right.
And the good bugs, not the shitty ones.
Not the shitty ones.
Bad ones. The good ones break down soluble fibre and forms these short-chain fatty acids, and they're extremely beneficial for the bowel.
Yeah.
The term acid is interesting because we talk about athletes and the lactic acid, how it eats that, but these acids are beneficial acids. There's no such thing as a bad chemical in the body. It's just a different... I mean, even lactic acid, you produce that from the anaerobic metabolism of glucose. So if you train, your bugs will grow, the lactic acid eating bugs, and that will give you more endurance. And that's one of the mechanisms by which you improve when you train.
That's right.
Isn't that incredible?
Yeah.
Because I know we're going to talk about weights and all this sort of stuff in here, and that's what it mainly focused on. But the endurance runners.
Yeah.
I mean, we're people too. I do a bit of running.
You are people too. Yeah, on a different level of people, but you're people too.
We are pretty silly.
I don't get the running thing.
The running thing is, I wouldn't try and convince anyone it's good.
No.
Because, when I've run a few marathons, it's like takes me 4 hours or just less than. But like 4 hours of absolute torture.
I can't even imagine it.
You run and I can do sort of 10Ks without any problems, and that's fine. The first 10Ks is like woo, all these people running around you, and everyone's cheering you on, and you feel on top of the world. The next 10 is pretty awful because you're running up to 20Ks, and wherever you are, you're starting to this is a long way.
Yeah,
and then you got the next 10Ks, and on the Gold Coast, the worst part is you run from Southport, where I've done the marathon, all the way down to Burleigh Heads and back. And at the 30K mark, you're running past the damn finishing line.
Oh, that would hurt.
And you got to keep running past it. Yeah. And that last 10Ks where you run up to Runaway Bay and turn around. And so you're running away, at 30Ks, you're running away from the finish line. If you could see it and it was over there and you kept running, but gee, it does your mind in.
Mentally.
But if you train for it and you get more of these bacteria, you can eat up the acids, the lactic acid, and feel more comfortable to run it.
Yeah.
And that's what it's all about. It's about training.
Yeah, that's right.
It's about, like you didn't get your figure by not training. You did it by training and training hard and eating well. And so the athlete is always striving for these extra benefits. So, different training to get the lactic acid eating bacteria is such a cool thing.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Now,
and that's interesting. Before we go on any further, that's another thing with marathon runners, interestingly.
What do you got to say about it?
So marathon runners have it's very common for them to have gastrointestinal symptoms. So they can have bloating, they can have cramping is a big one. Diarrhea is a big one for those ultra marathon runners and ultra triathlons and triathletes and things. They up to 90% of these ultra endurance athletes have reported that they have gastrointestinal issues.
Yeah, I'd believe it.
Yeah. You
have all sorts of other issues.
Yeah.
It's all painful and feet ache and everything. And I mean, like we had a gentleman called Dean Carnensis on the podcast about 6 months ago, and he's like an ultra marathon runner.
Yeah.
So he runs. He's done crazy things.
Even crazier.
Well, he did 50 marathons in 50 different states in America in 50 days.
That's ridiculous. I can't even imagine that.
He ran
amazing, but
I mean, like I do one marathon and I'm screwed for weeks.
Yeah.
But he did one a day.
Wow.
Every day, 50 days.
Wow.
And then he ran across America.
Oh, just for something to do.
I mean, that's crazy.
Wow.
But he's also done Death Valley.
Oh,
which the race was run recently. So these guys, and I mean, Death Valley is when you start. It's a stupid marathon because it's called Badwater Marathon, but they misjudged the distance. It's not 26 miles; it's 113.
Oh, just a small error.
But they start off at the hottest part in America, the Death Valley, the lowest part of America, so it's all uphill, at the hottest time of the year.
Oh, my God.
At the hottest time of the day.
Oh, my God. Wow.
So you have to run on the white line or your shoes melt.
Oh, wow.
So that's how stupid this race is.
Crazy.
And you run up to the top of Mount McKinley, so you run into the snow line.
Wow. Oh my God, I can't even.
Oh, you got to Google that race.
I'm Googling
Badwater
that.
Marathon.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it's
so
crazy.
I imagine that
Yeah.
quite a lot of them are experiencing diarrhea and gastrointestinal issues.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Because you've got to remember that exercise is good for your gut, but if you overdo anything, it's bad for you.
Yeah, well, it's a stressor on the body. So you're eliciting that sympathetic nervous system response. And what happens in that instance is your body, it doesn't realise you're just doing a marathon. It thinks that there's something trying to kill you.
Yep.
So it's going to take most of the blood away from your gut to your extremities to help you run faster. You have low blood within the gut. That can cause low oxygen levels. That can cause nutrient malabsorption. Then it can cause inflammation.
Yep.
Then you can get things such as gut hyperpermeability, and then that can lead on to other things. So as I said with the LPS before, can cause systemic inflammation, translocation of bacteria, things like that. So that can be something that long term. And if someone's doing 50 marathons in 50 days, I can only imagine how the state of the poor man's gut.
You got to listen to that podcast. I love the guy. I love those sort of events where you do stupid things. But the GI tract is remarkably resilient. But what we've got to not look at is make sure that the gut, it really from normal exercise, an hour a day, it's wonderful for your gut.
Yeah.
Doing these, running for 24 hours. He's also written a book called The Confessions of an All-Night Runner.
Oh, that'd be an interesting book. I guess what else you got to think about when you're running, but what you're going to put in your book.
Well, yeah. Well, on his 30th birthday, he was drunk at a pub, came home, put runners on and ran 30 miles for his 30th birthday. Oh, my
God.
Like, all night.
Wow.
That's how it's all started for him.
So that was his first run?
Yeah, his first,
big run.
As he says in the book, so I'm not giving away. He wasn't a healthy man. He wasn't he just got sick of his job and everything, and then just started running for a living. Wow. But he'd do all-night runs, and he entered a race, a 500-kilometre, which is 300-mile race, a relay race. And I've done a few of those as relay. And he just entered it by himself and won it.
Oh, really? Wow. So not really high achiever or anything.
No, he ran for 2 days and 2 nights.
Wow, that's incredible.
This is nuts.
Wow. Yeah, no, the only time I'm running if someone's chasing me.
Yeah.
It's the only time I'll run. Yeah.
Oh, you'd be a good runner,
No, I'm a terrible runner.
Tall?
No, terrible runner. My hips are too big. That's my excuse.
Your hips are too big?
I have wide shoulders and wide hips, so they're heavy. Structurally, I wasn't built for running, Steve-O.
Well,
my bones are too heavy. That's my excuse.
A little bit of anatomy and physiology is that the women's hips are larger because they give birth.
Yes.
Some of them do. So that changes the angle of the femur.
Yeah.
So a male's more upright, so you can get more power through the legs. Women's are on an angle like that, which gives you less power through the legs.
Yeah.
So that's
also, which I learnt the other day, sorry to cut you off.
Oh, yeah, go.
Well, a lot of women have broader shoulders than men. And why is that? I heard this the other day. I have quite broad shoulders because we have wide hips. So when we walk, they'll be hitting our hips. So we have broader shoulders.
So you have got
quite broad shoulders. So
it's funny, I've only known you for a few years and now I notice it.
Yeah. But how interesting is I learned that the other day and I thought that makes sense because what if we all had, women have wider hips, if we all had tiny little narrow shoulders, we'd be hitting ourselves in the hips all the time, wouldn't we?
Never thought about it like
our shoulders have to account for the larger hips.
Jeez.
The wider hips, sorry, not
there
larger,
you go.
wider. Yeah, so there you go.
We'll say wider.
Wider, not larger, wider.
Yeah, wider hips.
Yeah, wider. Yeah.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah.
I don't think of that sort of stuff, but yeah. So the woman athlete and the male athlete are very, very different. And it's not just, I don't want to get too controversial, but it's not just to do with testosterone levels.
No.
Like you hear, it's to do with the anatomy and physiology.
That's right.
Now, I want to hit you with some gut microbiome for some of these studies.
Go for it.
I want to this is a paper called, you're going to love this, the Athletic Gut Microbiome. And the gut microbiome, with its ability to harvest energy, modulate the immune system, and influence gastrointestinal blood, likely plays an important role in the athlete health, well-being, and sports performance. So, what a great little summary about all this sort of stuff. But this paper also goes on to say that the important factors such as age, birth method, antibiotic use, and diet have been established as formative players in the gut microbiome.
Yeah.
So put this back to, obviously age and birth method, but antibiotic use and diet. Now, the athlete diet is completely weird and completely different to a lot of the other normal diet of people. Often a lot better, but often a lot worse.
It can be.
So just regards from diet, and I haven't worded about this one, but what have you seen with regards to athletes? What are some of the crazy things that athletes do to change their diet?
Oh, wow. What have I seen? Well, I've seen, obviously, I used to do quite a bit with body sculptors, female body sculptors specifically, even bodybuilders. The extremes of their diets are out of control. So some of them, they have quite high protein diets, some of them. Well, the women sometimes can go a bit lower carb. But then when they finish competing, as we said before, they will refeed. Yeah. And then they can go, their microbiomes can go completely out of control. So I've seen that in quite a lot of cases. You know, see some keto diets and things like that, which do completely different things to the microbiome. Yeah. You know, high carbohydrate diets then do something completely different again when you've got more your endurance athletes.
Yeah, it's amazing, isn't it? Really, really incredible. But with regards to your athletes, like when we go back to the non-extreme athletes, absolutely studies show clearly that if you exercise, it is absolutely brilliant for the gut microbiome. Now, this paper, published in the Human Gut Microbiome of Athletes, Metagenomics and Metabolic Insights. And this paper was published February 2023 this year in Microbiome. And the results were absolutely stunning with this. It showed that it improved the gut microbiome to improve short-chain fatty acids. It improved the species. It improved the different Shannonics, so improved the Shannonics. It even improved the generation of B12, amino acid derivatives and other molecules linked to cardiovascular health and age-related risk reduction.
Wow.
So, I mean, because you've got to remember the microbiome can also make amino acids.
Yes, it can.
It makes all sorts of things.
It does. It makes some B vitamins, makes lots of different things.
And so if you've got a healthy gut, and this was an analysis of 418 different data sets. So, I mean, it's absolutely incredible what it can do. And you know, so if you are not exercising, then I do not know what you're doing, because this is, you know, people say, I want to do a gut detox. All right, go for a walk.
That's right.
That will help your microbiome. Go for a run, go for a swim, go for a gym, go for whatever.
Yes.
That will help your microbiome. So, you know, it's all great to take, you know, polyphenols or whatever the case may be, even fibres and supplements, but start off by hitting the pavement.
Yeah.
You know, take a spoonful of cement, harden up and go for a run.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. I mean, you know, exercise, they say, is good for weight, but is it, I mean, obviously there is that factor, but the microbiome plays a huge role in that. Yeah. So, you know, get out there and do some walking, that type of thing, if you need somewhere to start. Yep. Get up and do some walking. It's going to be really helpful for your gut.
Yep. I mean, it's incredible. In this particular study, it says 2/3 of an individual's gut microbiome is unique and influenced by dietary and exercise habits.
There you go.
Like, not just a little part, 66% of your microbiome is changed by that. Isn't that amazing?
Yeah, it's amazing.
So you've got this third that's hanging around doing, and you know, all these other influences, you can change it. It's absolutely incredible.
Yeah. Yeah. And so, you know, obviously the more healthier that your microbiome is and your gut health is, the better you're going to perform in your chosen sport as well. And as we said, there's different diets and different sports, so we obviously want to achieve different things. So then you got to be careful with your diet and how that's going to react within your microbiome as well. Like I said, if you're having a really high protein diet, or if you're on a ketogenic diet, more of that higher fat diet, that's going to throw that your filer out quite significantly. You can get a lot more LPS production and inflammation and that type of thing. So yeah, it's very interesting to look back at your diet. If you are having issues, if you're an athlete, you're getting some inflammation or you're getting these things happening, look to the microbiome perhaps more than anything, you know.
I think it's so neglected by athletes.
I think so too. I mean, obviously their nutrition is on point, that sort of thing. Their training is on point. But the actual microbiome, and that's the thing. I see a lot of clients that come to me that are, I mean, they're coming to see a naturopath, so they generally have a relatively healthy lifestyle, healthy diet. Some have impeccable diets and they still have gut issues. Yeah. And that's because there's something going on in there that's not being addressed. So the diet, you know, it could be a factor in that as well.
Absolutely.
Or even, you know, as I said, the lack of digestive sufficiency possibly could be part of it. And that high stress, diets have, athletes can have high stress. It's a stressor on the body that is going to impact that stomach acid and enzyme production. So that can impact their, as we said, absorption. That can create some overgrowth of bacteria from fermentation and putrefaction and things like that. They're also not going to be breaking down their proteins and absorbing their amino acids, which they need for that performance as well. So, yeah.
It's nuts, isn't it? I've got a paper here and run this way. You're going to love this. Gut microbiome, probiotics and physical performance in athletes and physically active individuals. And there's a beautiful little graph here. What exercise does to benefit the athlete, or it says, and I'll show you, but you can see there that's the circular thing there of exercise and improves the gut microbiome. Now I'll read it out for the listeners here. What it does is when you exercise, the microbiome improves, and you get more Akkermansia. Now
Akkermansia is a big one. We can talk about Akkermansia.
And Valilina, we talked that one before, and Prevotella. So they're the ones that are higher when we exercise. Now, just those three microbiome, what it does is that it increases the production of bioactive metabolites, short-chain fatty acids, and neurotransmitters. So have you ever heard of going for a run and you feel better?
Yeah.
You wouldn't know because you don't run.
I don't run, no.
But exercise makes you feel better.
Exercise in general, yeah.
Yeah, and that's because it boosts the microbiomes, it boosts the neurotransmitters.
Yeah.
So neurotransmitters are so... they're modulated by medicine a lot. There's lots of things that change neurotransmitters, but nobody in medicine, I feel, in my opinion, considers the gut microbiome.
No.
It's not even considered.
No.
So, people are taking all these pills for antidepressants, and yet they could just try a bit of exercise.
Yeah, bit of
help.
exercise.
Can't hurt.
No. Add a bit of fibre, resistant starches. That's going to improve your short-chain fatty acid production.
Yep.
They produce, butyrate and propionate can increase your serotonin levels.
Yes.
So it could be something as simple as that.
Simple as that. So it also talks to you about the maintenance of the intestinal barrier function. So if you get the wrong stuff leaking into your body from your gut, you're in big trouble. You get leaky gut syndrome.
Yep.
Which everyone thought was BS in the olden days.
Oh, no, there's no such thing as leaky gut. Because the gut is leaky naturally, but it's small amount. So you can have a small amount of things that go through in the bloodstream that are supposed to. So we don't call it leaky gut anymore. Yeah. We call it gut permeability or gut hyperpermeability.
Yes, that's it. And so exercise helps with the barrier function there.
Yeah, so that's what's going on a lot of times with these diarrhea and that sort of stuff in the endurance athletes. Yeah. They're having more gut hyperpermeability. And then a lot of that inflammation, obviously the joint pain, that sort of thing, a lot of that's impact.
There's
pain,
a video of a guy who has diarrhea while he's running a marathon.
Oh, I don't really want to see that.
It's on the internet. I do go on the internet every now and again.
Do you?
Occasionally.
And he just kept running.
And then I see that and I get off. It's terrible.
That's terrible. The poor guy.
Oh,
but
it's funny.
Credit to him if he kept running.
He kept running.
Oh, well, there you go. It's dedication, isn't it?
Yeah, that's to the cause.
That's dedication. For
now,
sure.
also, he could be drinking the wrong sort of magnesium or something. There's a magnesium aspartame in there, which is a healthy form for your muscles. But if you had magnesium oxide,
you could be in trouble.
You could be in big trouble.
You could be having the diarrhea while you're running your marathon, possibly. Yeah.
Lighten the load a bit.
Yeah, and that's another thing when you're running, and particularly the ultra athletes, a lot of times they are eating while they're running, where they're having liquid meals and things like that. And that comes back to that when you don't have those acids and enzymes, then that's going to cause more issues. Apparently, and I didn't bring a study in because I wasn't going to talk about it, but you can train your gut while you're running to process foods. So there is, you can. Apparently you can.
Huh.
So you can get better at it. And apparently the younger athletes or the starting out in these ultra endurance athletes have more problems than the ones that have been doing it for longer because their gut is then retraining to take in these nutrients where they're running. So
it's extraordinary.
It's interesting, isn't it?
It really is extraordinary. I've got another benefit for you for exercise. It modulates the immune system. Yeah, you like the term modulation?
I do like the term modulation.
It doesn't boost the immune system.
That's right.
It doesn't depress it.
Yep.
Modulates it.
Yeah. As everything in the body tries to keep everything balanced. Yeah.
Now, we do talk about immune sort of, where you get autoimmune disease or you get allergies. But the actual exercise normalises that.
Yeah.
I mean, how incredible.
Yeah, amazing.
There's plenty of things, herbs and that can do it, but try exercise.
Yeah.
It also improves energy harvest and utilisation. So you get more out of the food you're eating.
Yeah, that's right. And that's where it comes back to some people that are overweight. Yeah. They can have a lot of these high levels of firmicutes and that can cause weight.
Firmicutes, I love it.
I know, the ones that aren't firm and cute. I've heard you guys say that before.
Yeah, the firm and cute. Yeah, the firmicutes don't make you firm and cute.
No, they don't.
They drag more calories out of your food, like Lactobacillus acidophilus.
Yes, that's right.
So, you know, if you're trying to lose weight, probably don't take Lactobacillus acidophilus.
No.
You know, it sort of gets more calories out of your food.
It does, yeah.
Now, if you're underweight, it might be useful.
Well, that's right, and maybe in athletes that might need to absorb more calories from their food, they might increase, and that's a good thing.
Wow.
Yeah.
And you know what else it does? The microbiome, it regulates muscle metabolism.
I know, how good's that?
Oh, so, you know, you want to actually sort of better muscle action. People go, yeah, I take this, I take creatine, which is great for your muscles, and I take beta-alanine, but what about the microbiome? It's so ignored. And the worst part is a lot of sports supplements have sucralose in it.
Yeah.
Which is something you just got to try and avoid, you know.
Yeah.
Especially for the microbiome. So it's quite incredible.
Yeah.
Really, what is going on? I mean, you know, there's numerous other studies here, but you know, also it regulates cravings.
Yes. Well, have you ever noticed if you train, you don't? Well, I mean, I'm speaking from my own experience. If I train, I don't get as hungry if I train, for one, and I don't crave sugars and things if I'm training. If I don't train, I tend to crave more sugars.
Do you?
Yeah.
Oh.
So there you go.
Yeah, you got to train.
That's my microbiome.
Yeah, I sort of do it every day. Even this morning, and you know, I had a meeting at 8 a.m. With a sales rep from here, and you know, I had to get here at work. I got here at 6:45. So you know, I live about 40 minutes away, so I had to hit the road about 6. I still had time to go for a run and eat breakfast, healthy breakfast.
Yeah.
People go, oh, but I leave at 6 o'clock. Get up earlier.
Yeah, there's always time. There's always time. You can always make time for your health, I say to people. Even if it's 10 minutes, start with 10 minutes. Get up 10 minutes earlier and go for a walk around the block.
Have you ever heard of people trying to pass themselves off as another animal species to get out of exercise?
Otherwise identify as a what, sloth?
No, they identify as a type of bird, usually an owl. And have you heard that?
Oh, I'm a night owl.
I'm a night owl.
Yeah.
Have you ever heard that?
I have heard that.
I identify as an owl.
Yeah.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Night owl. Have you heard such a weird... Oh, no, I don't train them well. I'm a night owl.
Yeah.
No, you're human. Now, that's humans have a diurnal rhythm where in the morning you have high cortisol.
That's right.
You can ignore that if you want. I didn't design the human body. So, you know, it's like you got a high cortisol in the morning... You're not an owl.
For a reason.
Owls have high cortisol in the evening.
Yeah, that's right.
That's when they get up and go, whoo.
Yeah.
You know, have you heard that old gag? Oh, there's a person in the office here that identifies as an owl. And what do you say?
I'm not going to say it because you're going to go, it's who? I have heard that one.
It's a terrible joke. You heard it?
I have heard that one,
okay.
Yeah, I said it a little bit differently than that, though.
Oh, do you?
Yeah, I do say it a bit differently.
Is it a bit not G-rated?
No, probably not G-rated.
Really? How do you make that one
Well,
swear?
not really not G-rated, maybe just not that. Well, I say that. Well, no, I can't say it.
I
can't say
now
it.
the listeners
I can't say it.
Right.
No, I can't.
All
We
right,
might move on from that one.
because it's probably not G-rated.
It's probably
But
not.
look, it's really weird, these athletes, because if you are going to sacrifice, you know, time to get yourself fit and healthy, you've got to make an effort. People are always looking for the easy way out. So I'm going to throw some things at you and why they're bad ideas. So let's say that you're a, I don't know, you've heard that some of these bacteria like Akkermansia is really high. Now, you can take supplements to boost Akkermansia levels.
Yeah.
There are drugs that do it too. Metformin is one of the drugs, which is an extract of goat's rue.
Yeah.
But also like berberine-containing herbs.
Yep.
And these are all great, but it's still more beneficial to exercise, isn't it?
It is.
You know,
Yeah.
it's like, okay, you can get your gut right, but what about the rest of you?
That's exactly right.
Amazing.
Yeah. I know, it is, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, I've got another chart here, and this is a beautiful one of someone running, which, of course, runners are always best. And what they found here is that in the large intestine, you know, these microbiome makes short-chain fatty acids, phenols, indoles, secondary bile acids. It lowers the pH of the gut, which is good. That means it acidifies the gut and improves GI function. and it, again, it regulates the immune cells. But there is one of those things that I want to talk about more, which is the short-chain fatty acids. Now, I know you mentioned them quickly before, particularly butyrate. There's a paper on this, and the paper is sports... No, not that one. It's the one before it. So it's this one. So it's the Athletic and Gut Microbiome Short-Chain Fatty Acids as a potential ergonomic aid for exercise and training. Now, that's published 2021 December. So that sort of gives the game away, doesn't it? These short-chain fatty acids help you exercise.
Yeah.
So quite incredible that if you can get these short-chain fatty acids into your diet lifestyle with soluble fibre, it's going to be absolutely remarkable to improve your performance.
Yeah.
Now, that's what every athlete wants.
Yeah.
They want better performance. They want to be leaner. They want to be faster. They want to be stronger. They want to be whatever. Nobody considers short-chain fatty acids, I don't think.
No.
You do. Maybe I do. But these people don't. So with the short-chain fatty acids, you know, and let's say you're in clinic and you're coming across someone who is having, I'm going to throw this curly one at you, that they're having carbohydrates, you know, like grains, and they're having protein powders. So very highly refined foods. What problems do you see with that sort of athletic diet, or rice and just mono foods like chickpea, broccoli and chicken? Yeah.
Oh, well, they're going to have low diversity, for one. Yeah. So they're not eating a wide range of foods. So you need, obviously, different bugs like different things. So we need to have a wide range of different foods coming in to improve our diversity, which will then improve our athletic performance. Yeah. So there's a very narrow diet.
Yeah, mono diet. And you've got to remember that when people say, I like to eat, it's like you've got to speak for your microbiome.
That's right.
You can't ignore them anymore.
Yes.
Especially after this podcast, you can't ignore the fact that they are so important for your optimal health, and the short-chain fatty acids. So you've got to have those soluble fibres.
Yeah.
So, you know, these people who don't eat fruit, for example, you know, and berries and that sort of thing, get apples into you. They're absolutely fantastic for you.
Full of polyphenols, which will be very beneficial for the gut.
And the skins. Yeah, really good for you. So do you know any nice guys that gave you apples yesterday?
Oh, gee, let me think. Oh, I can think of one, Steve.
Well,
yes, you are the apple giver in the office,
apples.
Steve.
I love apples.
You do love apples. I tell you a funny story about apples.
Go for it.
Created my own apple intolerance years and years ago because I was eating, this is a long time ago before I was a naturopath. I love apples so much I was eating 5 or 6 apples a day.
Really?
And I got to the point where my body's just like, no, I'm done with apples. And then I started reacting to them. So I had to have a few years off apples.
That's funny.
Yes.
So I poisoned you yesterday.
No, I'm good. I'm back to a couple of apples a day now.
Oh, good.
Yeah, no, I'm back on track.
I
I keep it limited. But no, you are the apple guru, and you do have your little apple stash under the desk.
I have 1 or 2 a day.
Yeah.
Well, I thought I was going to... What was it, Snow White, the one that had the
I was
poison
thinking
apple?
Snow White when you said that, actually.
Is that right? Is that the one that killed...
It's Snow White, yeah. She gave the big red apple that had poison in it. Put her to sleep. Isn't that what happened?
Yeah, because I know there's a new movie coming out with Snow White.
Oh, is there?
Yeah.
Oh, why not? They rehash another one.
Yeah.
Can't think of any
new
new
dwarf, and only one of them is a dwarf, so...
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
The other 6 identify as a dwarf.
Right.
Oh, dear. Dear. Now, look, there's lots of other studies here, but the one I want to talk about is the one that you mentioned before about the long duration and high intensity exercise. And we've got, you know, when you've got what we call all amateur studies and athletic studies, and the athletic studies, when you do it like super duper long, it causes bowel discomfort, lowered microdiversity, increased permeability, increased pro-inflammatory bacteria, increased markers of inflammation, CRP and interleukin-6, increased solulins, which increase inflammation, and a negative change in the gut microbiome. So we know that if you overdo it, you know, it can cause side effects of the gut. Now, okay, that's all great and said, but what if you're a Dean Carnensis or you're someone who wants to do this? Is there any way, nutrient supplements, we can counteract those negative effects to sort of get the bowel healthy? What would you recommend is a good diet for an athlete?
Yeah.
What sort of foods would they eat that keeps their gut microbiome healthy?
Well, obviously they need the fibres to help with the short-chain fatty acid production. Obviously they need the protein, they need the carbohydrate, they need the fibre, they need all the 3 macronutrients because, as I said, that helps feed the different bacteria in the gut to keep it nice and healthy. And then there's things we can do naturopathically that can definitely help with offset some of those things that are happening. So obviously we're going to support the nervous system. We can put in some Saccharomyces boulardii that can definitely help with diarrhea, runner's diarrhea.
Yeah.
So that can help.
Why are you
with
looking at me when you're saying that?
Oh, no reason, Steve. It also helps increase short-chain fatty acid.
It does.
Secretory IgA levels.
Ooh, I didn't know that.
So
that's interesting.
That's another good reason to put it in. So I think probiotic therapy, as I said at the beginning, there's a lot of scope for, obviously, to helping with performance in the future, but even now to help to offset some of these things that are happening, we can look at probiotic therapy rather than anti-inflammatories and all these other, pain medications and things like that. That can be helpful with that sort of thing.
You could also tell the athlete to train less or whatever.
Yeah,
they're not going to do it.
They're not going to do it. No,
they don't do it at all.
No. No.
And so we have this other issue called reverse dieting, which is, let's say you finished your bikini comp, sculpting comp, and what would happen to you if you went back to I'm going to say a normal diet, not a healthy diet, a normal diet?
Well, you'd put on weight. You probably would have some maldigestion because you would have digestive insufficiency. So, case in point, I did. Because I won't tell you what I did after my first ever comp that I did.
What did you do?
All right, my first ever comp that I did after the next day, that night I got a pizza. I ate the whole pizza.
Oh, my God.
And I ate a couple of ice creams, brand ice creams I won't mention. And then the next day I ate a whole loaf of bread with peanut butter on it. And so, and what happened to my gut? It was swollen and bloated. I couldn't digest the food properly. And so then I created a bit of a storm in my gut because I was feeding all these unhealthy bacteria that decided to then proliferate.
You would have been super bloated with all that.
I was super bloated.
Did you look a bit pregnant?
Yes, I did look like I'd say what it looked like, but yes, a bit like E.T. actually.
Oh, don't say that.
Because I had the skinny everything else and then the bloated stomach. Because it was too much for my gut. Yeah. So you can't do that. No, that's where reverse dieting can be really helpful.
Because everyone goes, I can't wait to finish this comp, because I know a few of them.
Yeah.
And can't wait because then I'm going to go and eat A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, P. All the food under the sun.
Yeah.
And reverse dieting is saying, no, you're just going to eat a little bit more each day. You can take polyphenols or these sorts of things to keep the microbiome in check.
Yeah.
And I mean,
you're retraining, and you're stopping that weight bounce back and that sort of thing that can happen because the microbiome is becoming totally imbalanced. So to avoid that and to avoid things like even SIBO and things like that, you want to be really careful when you're refeeding.
Yeah. So it's all about the care, because I know what people think. They think, I'm going to finish this competition, whatever the competition is, bodybuilding or whatever, or they may be, running or something, or not finish this training. I'm going to sit on the couch and eat junk food. It's the worst thing you can do.
Yeah.
It sounds like a good idea when you're training and you're craving all these, I'll say good foods, but in inverted commas, but they're not good foods. Fun foods, there you go. And it's like, it's really quite strange when people say that, because I think, no, don't do that, because your gut is, let's say you've been training for running marathons, your gut's going to be disturbed. So you've got to actually eat for a healthy gut. You can eat a little bit more, of course, and you eat healthy foods, but it's got to be healthy and reverse training. So it's a really tricky one, and this is where the problem, where people come in. Now, there is another chart here.
Oh, love a chart.
I know, I'm getting a bit nerdy tonight. But what this study talks about is the physiological adaptations to endurance. And what we find here is, in this particular study, you get increased diversity when you train healthily, not excessively. You get the greater metabolic thing. You get the intestinal barrier. But you also get the reduced inflammation. I think that's really important. The gut microbiome is great for reducing inflammation. Now, inflammatory diseases are everywhere. And we're not just talking about the obvious ones, but low-grade inflammation. So anyone with any sort of arthritis and that sort of thing, consider the gut microbiome.
100%.
Especially if you're an athlete. And exercising can be a good way to... Okay, let's say you've got bad arthritis in your knees. This is a common excuse. So what's wrong with going to the pools and doing some laps?
Yeah.
You used to swim 3 to 4 hours a day.
I did, yeah.
Can't believe that.
I know. That's right.
Because I get bored.
Oh, I loved it.
Oh.
Yeah.
Were they a hot guy? So look at it. What was that?
No, I was living in like Western Queensland. It's in the outback.
There's a lot of hot guys in
there wasn't anymore.
Don't upset our Western Queenslander.
That's true. I wasn't looking. I was too busy in the pool. Doing laps, looking at the line in the pool.
Yeah, that's all you can look at.
Yeah, I know.
It's nothing else.
Well, see, back in the day, you couldn't get the little ear pods that you can now for swimming. You can get ear pods for swimming now. You couldn't. They didn't have them back in the day.
I didn't.
Back in my day.
Are they Bluetooth?
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So they must be waterproof, so you don't.
I wonder if you can
buzz out.
Will it reach the length of the pool?
Oh, the wire, you mean?
No, not the Bluetooth.
Can only go 20 metres as long as the wire is, the plug is.
I'm just a bit.
Yeah, no, well, yeah. If you go to the gym and you walk across the gym floor, your Bluetooth headphones will keep going.
I very rarely take my phone to the gym, but occasionally in the afternoons I do, and I put the headphones on and play old 80s music.
Yeah.
Because even though I'm really young, it seems to be the genre I like.
Old ladies music. What's old ladies music? What's that?
Old ladies music?
Yeah.
Oh, there's plenty of those.
Oh, not 80s and...
Oh, 80s music is what I used to do. So,
What's old ladies music? Oh, I'm interested. Because I'm not an old lady. But
no, you're not an old lady. I'm just trying to think of what my wife listens to.
She's not an old lady either. Sorry, Becky, if you're listening.
That's going to get me in trouble.
That is going to get you in trouble.
That's going to get me in big trouble.
She's not going to be happy about that.
But look, no. What actually, my wife listens to podcasts and does it and watches movies on her phone at the Netflix and stuff at the gym. Now, why is that a good thing? It's because she can go for an hour and a half.
You're distracting yourself.
Yeah. I think that's quite clever.
I used to read magazines because when I used to do cardio at the gym, that's what was there. It wasn't phones.
In your day?
In my day.
Yeah, electricity wasn't invented.
I'd read a whole magazine when I was doing my cardio.
Really? What magazines?
Well, to be honest, because I was dieting, cooking ones.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, so I'd look at all the nice recipes.
Cooking.
That was the main ones I'd look at, and all the things I was going to cook when I have to finish my comp.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, but they distracted me. So I managed, because now I will not sit on a bike or a treadmill for an hour because I did it for so many years.
I'd rather jump off a building.
Do it. Yeah.
That's just does my head in.
So, yes, but no, there was no Bluetooth and iPods and all that sort of stuff back then. Sounds so old, don't
Bluetooth. I know, I used to go. I go to the gym to exercise. I don't know what I'm doing, but no, with all those sort of advanced technologies, that's actually I like it because it gets more people to the gym and gets them to stay there longer. So I like that.
And the trackers, they can be motivating for a lot of people. Fitness trackers can be.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Some people hate them. Some people.
I had
love
a running watch. I've still got it at home. That measures how far you run and how fast you are running. It's an old Garmin thing, about 10 years old. But it really is motivating.
Yeah, because you want to beat it.
Yeah.
So, yeah. It's great.
And I mean, I think we really have to start recommending to people for their gut microbiome, as well as their other health benefits. We can add this to the list for people why you should exercise. You've got a gut disorder, this might help.
Yeah.
You got bad knees, go swimming.
That's right.
You got you could always try and get people out. And now, of course, swimming where I swim in outdoor pools, you get the sun, you get vitamin D, which regulates the immune system.
That's right. Yeah.
So I mean, you're getting a double bonus. And you go into the gym, you're watching, you're listening to your favourite podcast, which is us, of course.
Of course.
And but you're watching a favourite movie, and so it is a great way to do it. So. Okay, so I'll hit you up with this last sort of question about the athletic gut microbiome. What would you recommend to people to not just improve their gut microbiome, but what are some of the supplements you need to look out for? Not brand names, just types of things you look for in supplements, which are really good for athletes and the microbiome.
What is in like supplements that are going to help with their...
Yeah, microbiome as well as their athletic performance. So things that can help improve, say, Akkermansia and those sorts of things in the gut microbiome, or the Prevotella, the ones we talk about.
Well, your fibres are a big one. As you said, berberine. Yeah, fibre is a big one.
Yeah.
Omega-3s is also another big one.
Omega-3s is a good one. So omega-3s provides energy from the fats. That's great. But omega-3s are also anti-inflammatory.
And they feed Akkermansia.
And they do feed Akkermansia.
Yeah.
So we were talking here, fish oils, icosapentaenoic acid, icosahexaenoic acid, but also alpha-linolenic acid. So they're really good.
Yeah.
So you've got berberine, so we've got fibres, and we've got colourful foods with all the polyphenols in it.
Polyphenols, yeah, definitely.
They are really important for
resistant
the gut.
starches as well.
Resistant starches, yeah. So that's really important to keep the short chain fatty acids up. So, I mean, look, on top of all the other supplements you take for exercise, if you include just those 4 different things in there, you're going to be a better athlete and have a healthier microbiome at the same time.
Yeah, that's right.
Love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
And then you can think of other things. I mean, if instead of reaching for your medications and things, maybe look at things like probiotics to help with, because so many probiotics can help with inflammation. They can help with your immunity, that type of thing. So immunoglobulins is a really good one for the gut as well.
Yeah, it is too.
Yeah, really good. And I'm so excited. We're just getting a new, one of the naturopathic companies has brought out an immunoglobulin because we're a little bit limited in Australia in what we can get. So there's a lot of things that you can do to help with your performance as an athlete when you're having to offset some of these issues. So, as I said, probiotics can be helpful for the inflammation. Maybe look at that type of thing and think about the gut if you are having inflammation. Look at, your Saccharomyces boulardii to help you secrete your IgA levels. Look at glutamine to help with the gut as well. Those types of things.
Forgot about that.
Yeah, really important when we're looking at offsetting some of these things that can happen with athletes.
Oh, that's remarkable. Well, look, we've sort of run out of time, but that's a remarkable summary of what you've just given. And people should consider those supplements. And if they're in doubt, who do they speak to? The shop owner?
Do not know. See a naturopath or see a qualified practitioner. If you're really having issues with your gut, and there's a lot of testing that can be done, look into your microbiome and see what might be contributing to some of your symptoms if you're struggling a little bit. And if you're an athlete and you are having a lot of gut problems, that's where I would be looking rather than possibly medications and things like that.
Of course, always the best way to go. Well, look, thanks, Nic. This has been great. I love this one, the microbiome.
Yeah, it's a good one, isn't it? I love talking about the gut. Favourite.
We love our poos.
We do love talking about poo at naturopaths.
Well, on that brown note.
On that brown note, we'll see you next time.
See you next week. See ya.
Bye.